Welcome. As we celebrate the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., allow me to offer a few reminders about his life. Dr. King was born into a family of middle class black Americans. His great grandfather was an exhorter to the slaves. His father and maternal grandfather were Baptist preachers. His mother was a school teacher. Dr. King graduated from Morehouse College in Atlanta at the age of 19 in 1948. That's where he did his biblical studies. 3 years later, after Morehouse, Dr. King graduated from the Crozier Theological Seminary of Chester, Pennsylvania, at the head of his class. And on scholarship, he entered graduate theological school at Boston University, and in 1955, he earned the PhD degree in systematic theology. In 1953, he was married to Miss Coretta Scott of Marion, Alabama. Of course, Forrest Gump was from Alabama, as is Jeff Sessions. Dr. King met Coretta in Boston. They became parents of 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. He pastored the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church from 1954 to 1960. He then left Montgomery for Atlanta to become co-pastor with his father at the Ebenezer Baptist Church. While in Montgomery, Dr. King led the year-long bus boycott against segregated public transportation. Perhaps as any authentic leader should be, Dr. King was reluctant to assume the leadership role of the Montgomery movement. Nevertheless, the boycott was successful, and it catapulted him into prominence as a civil rights leader of Black Americans. Of course, his nonviolent philosophy was the moving force. In his iconic I Have a Dream speech, which I believe should be canonized as other books of the Bible have been, the I Have a Dream speech cemented his place in history. In 1964, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, as we know, his primary activities were in the South. His life was frequently threatened. He was jailed over 30 times. His home was bombed by white supremacists. So it's perhaps ironic that he was stabbed almost fatally by a black woman in Harlem, New York, as he autographed his first book, Stride Toward Freedom. The confrontations for civil rights in Birmingham and Selma brought worldwide attention to the systemic racism in America. Dr. George Kelsey said at the time that racism is a faith in America. It is an ideology. It is the ultimate form of idolatry. It is the final form of human alienation, which has been baptized and domesticated within the Christian religion. These confrontations also reveal the unmistakable image of America as a violent country, both overt and covert. So perhaps it is a brazen piece of irony and courage that Dr. King sought to change it through nonviolence, as Dr. Lucius Tobin intoned, even if you Christianized it. In 1967, in a speech at the Riverside Church in New York City, he took a stand against the Vietnam War, and he associated himself with the peace movement. Some said that this shift was definitive in that it expanded civil rights into human rights. But this shift alienated him from other civil rights leaders of the time: Roy Wilkins, Carl Rowan, Whitney Young, Senator Edward Brooke, Dr. Ralph Bunche, himself a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Dr. King said, "I cannot tell these black boys from the ghettos of America to go to Vietnam to fight, and when they come home, be nonviolent." For him, this was a contradiction in terms. If violence was good over there, it is good here. And Dr. King would not allow his integrity to be crucified on that contradiction. Amidst plans for the Poor People's March on Washington, he made a second trip to Memphis, Tennessee to rally support for garbage collectors. While in Memphis, as we sadly remember, he was shot and killed by an assassin as he stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel talking to friends and staff. It only took one bullet, a single shot, on April the 4th, 1968. Death came early looking for Dr. King. 39 years after his death, after his birth. 39 years. The man convicted of his murder, James Earl Ray, was also 39. James Earl Ray, an inconspicuous jailbird who somehow knew where and when Dr. King would be on that day. He knew the time. James Earl Ray. Yes, 39 years after his birth, 15 years after his marriage, 13 years after receiving his doctorate, 4 years after receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, death found Dr. King. And America bled on April 4th, 1968, on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. C. Eric Lincoln said, "The full story of Martin Luther King is a commentary on culture rather than the biography of an individual. It is a commentary on our lifestyle, the contradictions, the paradoxes, the inconsistencies, the ambiguities, the hypocrisies." Lincoln said that Dr. King was a symbol, the unbearable symbol of what is wrong with ourselves and our culture. Some tried to dismiss Dr. King as a charlatan, even a fool, but he came equipped with the credentials of faith and of learning. He was thrust into leadership under the most unpropitious circumstances. Soon after his marriage, soon after he started his family, soon after beginning his young ministry at the Dexter Church. The place where history called him was just across the street from the dome capital of the old Confederacy, Alabama, Montgomery, the old capital of the Confederacy, the place where Jefferson Davis took the oath of office of the presidency of the Confederacy, where Jefferson Davis said that he would call the roll of his slaves at the foot of the Bunker Hill Monument. In many ways, although we've come a long way, in many ways, today we still hear from Christian evangelicals saying that slavery is justified in the Bible. They argue that if it was not justified, why didn't Jesus or Paul condemn it? We've come a long way. But yes, even today, some people proclaim as an article of faith that Black Americans were better off as slaves. We've come a long way. Although the right to vote is not being thwarted by police dogs or water hoses or police batons or white sheets or burning crosses, yet even today, obstacles to vote have been erected all over this nation under the fraudulent claim of voter fraud. Now, I'm sure it's only a coincidence or an accident of history that these attempts only came about after the 2008 election, after the election of Barack Obama, the first Black president elected in these United States of America. We've come a long way, but we are still a violent country. Just ask Aurora. Ask Gabby Giffords. Ask Orlando. Ask the gun lobby. We've come a long way, but racism still raises its vicious head. Ruby Dee said in the movie Buck and the Preacher, said that about racism, that it's like a poison soaked into the ground. Yes, racism still raises its vicious head. Ask the President of the United States, who has been vilified ad infinitum, as attempts have been made to illegitimize his presidency. However, be reminded that George Washington founded the nation. Thomas Jefferson defined the nation. Abraham Lincoln saved the nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. challenged the nation. Barack Obama led the nation. And despite the attempts to delegitimize his presidency and to delegitimize him, nothing can remove him from the Mount Rushmore of great presidents. So, in spite of all the negatives, the contradictions, the ambiguities, the hypocrisies, the birthers, the attitudes that have not changed, there is something which nags us yet. There is still something that haunts us, there is still something which echoes. There is still that dream, that king dream, that dream. If we can keep remembering just some of it, maybe the part which says, don't judge a person by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Or maybe that part that says we hold these truths to be self-evident that all, without parsing the word. Maybe if we just remember the part where Dr. King said that with this faith, we will be able to transform the jangled discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. If just a few of these words can infiltrate our lives and we work towards justice for all, as it was his legacy, this will also become our legacy. And upon it, we can have a new birth of freedom beyond the dream. God be with you. Thank you.